Hi, I'm Bill Patten, Interim CEO here at Rehoboth McKinley Hospital. This morning I want to give you an update on the special board meeting that was held on December the 20th. This meeting was called to review the fiscal year 2024 budget. As I may have mentioned in my last report, we've been focused on day-to-day operations and had not had an opportunity to brief the board on next year's budget plans. Also, there are a number of different topics that are still, I guess I can describe them as up in the air. So I had requested to the board that we present a budget for the first quarter of the year, what I would call a preliminary budget, and then we would give a final budget by February or March once we had some of these financial data points more firmly defined. The board was accepting of that approach. So our volumes for the first quarter were just marginally increased. We went from patient admissions that were originally budgeted in the low 90s to right at 100. Outpatient volumes were budgeted flat. So what we've experienced this year, we're not projecting any increase. We were trying to take a conservative approach to the budget, rather than being aggressive with numbers and overstating the budget, a process that I don't really buy into. We wanted to show the board what the numbers really were. But there were a couple of new revenue items that we were able to specifically identify. For example, from the state of New Mexico, our Medicaid rates have increased by 20%. And so we were able to identify specific numbers, about 185,000 a month, that we will see additional from that. We were also able to specify our numbers for our critical access designation. The pro forma that was performed for that designation showed that we would generate about $3.7 million per year in additional revenue from Medicare. Remember, critical access only affects our Medicare reimbursement. So we budgeted for the full 24 benefit of that 3.7. In addition, because we have not yet been able to bill on the 23 portion of our critical access designation, there's a holdup with the number from CMS, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. We were able to budget an additional $1.5 million from fiscal year 23 that will carry over into 24. On the expense side, we haven't really been able to identify much in the way of savings. That's work that will be done in the first quarter of 24. So when all was said and done, we still had a budgeted loss, but it's important to note that we have not budgeted for any special revenues. As I think I've mentioned, there are conversations taking place between the city, the county, the Navajo Nation, and the state to provide additional support specifically targeted for our payroll, so that over the coming weeks and months, we can make sure that we meet our payroll, and it gives us an opportunity to work on that mountain of debt that I talked about in my last board report. There was conversation at the legislative forum as recently as yesterday, finalizing the processes, the logistics for getting us that money. I made it clear to those that were at that meeting the urgency of our need for that support. But from a budgetary perspective, until it actually is finalized, we weren't comfortable budgeting it. And that has the opportunity to significantly change our FY24 numbers to the good. So this was a preliminary budget, something for us to use as a roadmap, but a lot more work needs to be done. Other topics that the board discussed during this special meeting included review of a proposal to upgrade the chemistry analyzers that we have. We had a proposal that would save us $45,000 per year for the next 3 years in service contracts. We have these machines under what's called a reagent rental, and the reagent pricing that was offered to us was only a marginal, you might think of it as an inflationary increase over what we're paying. This is a 7-year deal. The board was very enthusiastic, our opportunity to upgrade our technology, and it was approved. So we'll be moving forward with that. The board also accepted my recommendation that we not work to renew our CME, Continuing Medical Education program. That's a program that had been put on hold last March, and we're not planning to try and renew it. It's very unusual for a hospital our size to have a CME program. And from my point of view, while it is nice, it is not part of our core services. The board agreed with that recommendation, so we're not going to be pursuing that. And then the last thing that the board discussed was our response to the city. The city had sent us a very detailed data request, information that they want as they review their part of the support package that I've already mentioned. And I needed to get input from the board as far as how they wanted me to respond to those data request items. It was a good board meeting. We ran over a little bit. I had a little bit too much information on the budget to present, but wanted to give you an update. As always, give me a call if there's any questions that I can answer for you. Thank you very much and have a very Merry Christmas.